Lisa Chen stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror one more time, smoothing down her navy blue blazer and taking a deep breath. Today was the day that could change everything. After months of job hunting and countless rejections, she finally had an interview at Wilson Creative Agency, one of the most respected marketing firms in the city. The position was perfect for her background in digital marketing, and the salary would finally allow her to move out of her cramped studio apartment. She grabbed her leather portfolio from the kitchen counter, double-checking that her resume copies were neatly organized inside. The interview was scheduled for 10:30, and she had planned to arrive 15 minutes early to make a good impression. Lisa had even researched the company's recent campaigns and prepared thoughtful questions about their client base and company culture. The autumn morning was crisp as she walked briskly toward downtown, her heels clicking confidently on the sidewalk. She felt prepared and optimistic. Her previous job at a small startup had ended when the company ran out of funding, but the experience had taught her valuable skills in social media strategy and client relations. This new opportunity felt like exactly what she needed to get her career back on track. Lisa decided to stop at Brew Haven, a popular coffee shop just 3 blocks from the agency office. She figured a small caffeine boost would help calm her nerves and give her that extra edge of alertness for the interview. The place was already bustling with the morning rush crowd. When she pushed through, the heavy glass doors, the warm aroma of freshly ground coffee beans mixed with the sweet scent of cinnamon pastries filled the air. Business people in suits stood in line checking their phones, while freelancers with laptops had claimed most of the corner tables. Lisa joined the queue behind a woman ordering an elaborate drink with multiple modifications, mentally rehearsing her own simple order of black coffee with a splash of cream. She glanced at her watch. 9:45, perfect timing. She would grab her coffee, find a quiet spot to review her notes one final time, and then head over to Wilson Creative with plenty of time to spare. That's when she heard the crying. At first, it was just background noise in the busy coffee shop, but it quickly escalated into the kind of desperate wailing that makes everyone in the vicinity feel uncomfortable. Lisa turned toward the sound and spotted the source near the window seating area. A man in his early 30s sat at a small round table, looking absolutely overwhelmed. His dark hair was slightly disheveled, his tie was askew, and his white dress shirt had what appeared to be baby food stains on the sleeve. In his arms he held a baby girl who couldn't have been more than 18 months old. The little one had curly brown hair and was wearing a bright yellow dress with tiny flowers on it. The baby was reaching desperately towards something on the table while tears streamed down her chubby cheeks. The man was trying everything he could think of to console her. He bounced her gently, made silly faces, offered her a sippy cup, and spoke in soothing tones, but nothing was working. The crying only seemed to get louder and more frantic. Other customers were starting to stare. Some shot annoyed glances in their direction, while others looked sympathetic but kept their distance. Lisa could see the man's face growing redder with embarrassment as his daughter's distress continued to draw attention. She looked closer at what was on the table and realized the problem. There was a small wooden toy train, painted in bright primary colors, but it was completely broken apart. The wheels had come off and some kind of spring mechanism was hanging loose. It was clearly the baby's favorite toy, and she wanted it back in working condition. The man noticed Lisa looking and gave her an apologetic smile. "I'm so sorry about the noise," he called out over his daughter's crying. "Her favorite toy broke this morning and she won't calm down. I've been trying to fix it, but I'm not very handy with these things." Lisa felt her heart go out to them both. The man looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept much the night before. There was a diaper bag at his feet, a baby carrier on the chair next to him, and his coffee sat untouched and probably getting cold. He had the overwhelmed look of a parent who was completely out of his depth. She found herself walking over to their table before she had really made a conscious decision to get involved. "Hi there," she said with a warm smile, addressing both the father and the still crying baby. "I couldn't help but notice you're having some trouble with that toy. Mind if I take a look?" The man's eyes lit up with hope. "Would you? I mean, if you think you might be able to help, that would be amazing. I'm Alex, by the way, and this is my daughter Lily." "I'm Lisa," she replied, already examining the broken train. "And don't worry, Lily. We'll get your train running again in no time." Lily's crying had reduced to sniffles as she watched Lisa pick up the pieces of her beloved toy. Lisa had always been good with her hands. Growing up, her father had been a mechanic, and he had taught her how things worked and how to fix them when they didn't. She had spent countless afternoons in his garage, learning about gears and springs and how mechanical objects functioned. The toy train wasn't complicated, but the way it had broken made it look worse than it actually was. Lisa could see that the main problem was a small spring that connected the wheels to the body of the train. When it popped out, everything else had come loose, but the pieces were all still there. "Do you have a pen I could borrow?" Lisa asked Alex. He quickly pulled a ballpoint pen from his shirt pocket and handed it to her. Lisa used the tip of the pen to carefully guide the spring back into its proper position inside the train's body. Then she aligned the wheels and pressed them firmly back into place. She gave the train a gentle push across the table and it rolled smoothly, just like new. Lily immediately stopped crying and clapped her little hands with delight. She reached for the train, and when Alex handed it to her, she hugged it tightly against her chest before setting it down and pushing it around on the table with obvious joy. "Oh my goodness, thank you so much," Alex said, his relief evident in his voice. "I've been dealing with that broken toy meltdown for the past hour. You have no idea how much this means to me." Lisa smiled as she watched Lily happily playing with her repaired train. Any parent would have done the same thing. I just happened to learn a few fix-it tricks from my dad over the years. "Well, you literally saved my morning," Alex continued. "I'm already running late for work and I still need to drop Lily off at daycare. If she had kept crying like that, I don't know what I would have done." Lisa glanced at her watch and felt her stomach drop. 10:15. She had gotten so caught up in helping with the toy that she had completely lost track of time. Her interview was in 15 minutes and she still needed to get her coffee and walk 3 blocks to the Wilson Creative office. "I'm so glad I could help," she said, gathering up her purse and portfolio. "But I actually need to run. I have a job interview in a few minutes and I'm cutting it close." "A job interview? Good luck," Alex called out as Lisa headed toward the coffee counter. "And thank you again. Seriously, you're a lifesaver." Lisa gave a quick wave and ordered her coffee to go, no longer having time to sit and review her notes. As the barista prepared her drink, she could hear Lily giggling behind her as she played with the now functional train. The sound made her smile despite her growing anxiety about being late. She rushed out of Brewhaven with her coffee in hand, walking as quickly as her heels would allow without actually running. Her mind was already racing ahead to the interview, hoping that her slightly delayed arrival wouldn't make a bad first impression on her potential new boss. Lisa practically jogged the last block to Wilson Creative Agency, her heart pounding from both the physical exertion and the growing anxiety about being late. She had always prided herself on being punctual, especially for important occasions like job interviews. First impressions mattered so much in the professional world, and showing up late was definitely not the impression she wanted to make. The Wilson Creative Building was one of those modern glass structures that made you feel small just looking up at it. Lisa paused at the entrance to catch her breath and check her reflection in the tinted glass doors. Her cheeks were slightly flushed from the hurried walk, but otherwise she looked professional and put together. She smoothed her hair once more, straightened her blazer, and pushed through the revolving doors into the marble-floored lobby. The reception area was sleek and minimalist, with white leather chairs arranged around a glass coffee table covered in design magazines and industry publications. Abstract artwork hung on the walls and soft jazz music played quietly in the background. Everything about the space screamed success and creativity, which only made Lisa more nervous about her tardiness. She approached the reception desk where a young woman with short blonde hair and a friendly smile looked up from her computer screen. "Good morning, how can I help you?" "Hi, I'm Lisa Chen. I have a 10:30 interview with Mr. Wilson, but I'm running a few minutes behind," Lisa said, trying to keep her voice calm and professional despite her inner panic. The receptionist checked her computer and nodded. "Oh yes, Ms. Chen. Actually, don't worry about being a few minutes late. Mr. Wilson had to step out this morning to handle a family emergency, so he's running behind schedule as well. He should be back any minute now." Lisa felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Oh, thank goodness. I was really worried about making a bad impression by being late." "Not at all. These things happen, especially on Monday mornings," the receptionist said with a reassuring smile. "Can I offer you some coffee or water while you wait? You can have a seat in the waiting area, and I'll let Mr. Wilson know you're here as soon as he arrives." "Coffee would be great, thank you," Lisa replied. though she still had most of her to-go cup from Brew Haven. Her nerves were making her feel like she could use all the caffeine she could get. As she settled into one of the comfortable leather chairs, Lisa pulled out her portfolio and tried to refocus her mind on the interview ahead. She reviewed her prepared talking points about her experience in digital marketing, her knowledge of current social media trends, and her ideas for innovative campaign strategies. This was exactly the kind of position she had been hoping to find. A role that would allow her to be creative while also using her analytical skills. Wilson Creative Agency had an impressive client roster that included several major brands in the fashion and lifestyle sectors. Lisa had spent hours researching their recent campaigns and was genuinely excited about the possibility of contributing to their team. The job description had mentioned opportunities for growth and advancement, which appealed to her ambition to eventually move into a leadership role. She glanced around the waiting area and noticed other elements that spoke to the company's creative culture. There were awards displayed in a glass case, including several advertising industry recognitions from the past few years. The magazines on the coffee table weren't just the usual business publications. There were design journals, photography magazines, and even some international publications that showcased global advertising trends. The receptionist returned with a steaming cup of coffee and a mug bearing the Wilson Creative logo, a stylized W that looked like it was made of interconnected puzzle pieces. "Here you go. Mr. Wilson should be here within the next 10 minutes or so." "Thank you so much," Lisa said, accepting the coffee gratefully. "I have to admit, I'm a little nervous. This seems like such an amazing place to work." "It really is," the receptionist agreed. "I've been here for almost 2 years now, and it's been a great experience. The team is really collaborative, and Mr. Wilson is an excellent boss. He really cares about his employees and their professional development." This information made Lisa feel even more hopeful about the opportunity. She had left her previous job partly because of poor management and lack of growth opportunities. The idea of working for someone who actually invested in their team's success was very appealing. As she sipped her coffee, Lisa's mind wandered back to the morning's encounter at the coffee shop. She hoped Alex had made it to work on time after dropping off little Lily at daycare. There had been something about the whole situation that touched her heart, seeing a father so devoted to his daughter's happiness, even in the midst of what was clearly a stressful morning. It reminded her of her own dad, who had always made time to help her with problems, no matter how small they seemed. The memory made her smile. Her father had taught her that helping others, even in small ways, was one of the most important things you could do in life. "You never know when a small kindness might change someone's entire day," he used to say. She had certainly seen that principle in action this morning when fixing Lily's toy had transformed the little girl from tears to joy in just a few minutes. Lisa checked her watch again, 10:40. She was actually grateful now for the delay, as it had given her time to settle her nerves and get back into the right mindset for the interview. She felt more centered and confident than she had when she first rushed into the building. The elevator doors across the lobby opened with a soft chime, and Lisa looked up to see if it might be Mr. Wilson arriving. A few people in business attire stepped out, but none of them headed toward the reception area. She went back to reviewing her notes, making sure she had clear examples ready to illustrate her marketing experience and creative problem-solving abilities. She thought about the questions she wanted to ask during the interview. Beyond the standard inquiries about job responsibilities and company culture, she was genuinely curious about Wilson Creative's approach to work-life balance. The receptionist's positive comments were encouraging, but Lisa wanted to hear directly from Mr. Wilson about his management philosophy and expectations for the team. The phone at the reception desk buzzed softly, and Lisa heard the receptionist answer in a professional tone. "Wilson Creative, how may I help you?" There was a brief pause. "Yes, he just arrived. I'll let her know." The receptionist looked over at Lisa with a smile. "Mr. Wilson is here and ready to see you now. He's just getting settled in the conference room. You can head down that hallway to your right. It's the last door on the left." Lisa's heart rate picked up again as she gathered her portfolio and stood up. This was it, the moment she had been preparing for all week. She thanked the receptionist and walked confidently down the hallway, her heels clicking softly on the polished floor. The hallway was lined with framed examples of the agency's work, magazine advertisements, billboard designs, and digital campaign screenshots that showcased their range and creativity. Lisa found herself impressed by the quality and diversity of their portfolio as she made her way toward the conference room. She paused for just a moment outside the conference room door, taking one final deep breath to center herself. Through the glass panel, she could see a figure moving around inside, presumably getting materials ready for their meeting. This was her chance to make a great impression and hopefully land the job that could transform her career. Lisa knocked gently on the door and waited for the invitation to enter, her mind focused on presenting herself as the perfect candidate for the position. "Come in," came the voice from inside the conference room. Lisa turned the handle and stepped into the spacious room, her prepared smile ready and her confidence carefully arranged. The conference room had floor-to-ceiling windows that offered an impressive view of the city skyline, and a long mahogany table surrounded by ergonomic chairs. Charts and creative briefs were displayed on a large whiteboard, showing current projects and campaign timelines. She looked toward the head of the table where a man was organizing papers and setting up what appeared to be presentation materials for their meeting. He had his back to her initially, focused on arranging documents, but when he heard the door close, he turned around to greet his interview candidate. Time seemed to freeze for both of them. Lisa felt her carefully practiced greeting die on her lips as she found herself staring into the familiar face of Alex, the overwhelmed father from the coffee shop. But this wasn't the frazzled, coffee-stained version she had helped just an hour earlier. This was Alex transformed. His hair was now neatly styled, his tie was perfectly straight, and he wore a crisp charcoal gray suit that clearly marked him as a successful business executive. For his part, Alex stopped mid-motion, a stack of papers still in his hands, his expression shifting from professional politeness to complete surprise, then to something that looked like delighted recognition. "You've got to be kidding me," he said, and then immediately looked embarrassed at his unprofessional response. "I mean, Lisa?" From the coffee shop? Lisa felt her cheeks burning with embarrassment. Of all the possible scenarios she had imagined for this interview, this had never crossed her mind. "Mr. Wilson?" she managed to say, though it came out more like a question than a statement. "Please call me Alex," he said, setting down the papers and extending his hand in a proper business greeting. This is certainly unexpected." Lisa shook his hand, trying to regain her professional composure despite the surreal nature of the situation. "I had no idea. I mean, when you said you were running late for work, I never imagined that I was the person you were coming to meet," Alex finished with a genuine smile. "Trust me, I'm just as surprised as you are. Please have a seat. This is definitely the most interesting start to an interview I've ever experienced." Lisa sat down in the chair he indicated, placing her portfolio on the table in front of her. Her mind was racing, trying to figure out how to handle this unusual situation. Should she address the morning's encounter directly? Should she pretend it didn't happen and try to keep things purely professional? She had never read any career advice about what to do when your good deed recipient turned out to be your potential boss. Alex seemed to be having similar thoughts as he took his seat across from her. He was quiet for a moment, apparently collecting his thoughts before speaking again. "I have to ask," he said, "did you know who I was when you helped me this morning? I mean, did you recognize me from the company website or something?" "Not at all," Lisa replied honestly. "I had no clue. I just saw a dad struggling with a crying baby and a broken toy, and I wanted to help. I didn't even catch your last name at the coffee shop." Alex nodded, and his expression seemed to relax slightly. "Good. I was hoping that was the case. Not because there would be anything wrong with it if you had known, but because it makes what you did this morning even more meaningful." Lisa wasn't sure how to respond to that, so she decided to try steering the conversation back to professional territory. Should we start over? Pretend we're meeting for the first time." "Actually, I don't think we should pretend anything," Alex said thoughtfully. "What happened this morning tells me more about your character than any interview question I could ask. But I do want to make sure we cover all the professional aspects properly. This is still a job interview, and I want to be fair to both of us." He picked up a folder from the table and opened it, revealing what Lisa recognized as her resume and application materials. "I've already reviewed your qualifications extensively, and I was impressed even before this morning's situation. Your experience with digital marketing campaigns is exactly what we're looking for, and your portfolio shows real creativity and strategic thinking. Lisa felt a mix of relief and continued nervousness. On one hand, it seemed like the morning's encounter might actually work in her favor. On the other hand, she still needed to prove that she was the right person for the job based on her professional abilities, not just because she had helped his daughter. "Thank you," she said. "I've done a lot of research on Wilson Creative, and I'm genuinely excited about the possibility of working here. Your recent campaign for the sustainable fashion brand was particularly impressive. The way you balanced environmental messaging with style appeal was brilliant." Alex's eyes lit up with professional interest. "You noticed that campaign? What specifically did you think worked well about it?" Lisa felt herself settling into more comfortable territory as they began discussing marketing strategy and creative approaches. She shared her analysis of several of Wilson Creative's recent projects, offering both praise and thoughtful suggestions for how certain elements might be refined or expanded. Alex listened intently, asking follow-up questions that demonstrated his own deep understanding of the industry. As their conversation progressed, Lisa began to see why the receptionist had spoken so positively about working for Alex. He was clearly knowledgeable and passionate about the work, but he also had a collaborative approach that made her feel comfortable sharing her ideas. He didn't seem like the type of boss who would dismiss input from team members or take credit for other people's work. "Tell me about a time when you had to solve a problem under pressure," Alex said, returning to more traditional interview questions. Lisa almost smiled at the timing of that question. "Well, there was this morning when I encountered a father whose baby was crying over a broken toy, and I had to figure out how to fix it quickly because I was already running late for an important meeting." Alex laughed out loud at that response. "Okay, that's fair. But in all seriousness, that actually does demonstrate exactly the kind of problem-solving skills we value here. You assessed the situation quickly, identified the real issue, found a creative solution using available resources, and followed through until the problem was resolved. Plus, you did it all while managing your own time constraints and stress level." Lisa hadn't thought about the morning's events in those terms, but she could see his point. "I suppose you're right. I've always been good at staying calm under pressure and finding practical solutions to unexpected problems. That's exactly what we need in this role," Alex continued. "Marketing campaigns don't always go according to plan. Clients change their minds, deadlines get moved up, and sometimes you have to completely pivot your strategy at the last minute. We need someone who can roll with those changes and still deliver excellent results." They spent the next 20 minutes discussing specific aspects of the job responsibilities, the team structure, and the company's growth plans for the coming year. Lisa found herself genuinely excited about the opportunities Alex described: chances to work on major brand campaigns, lead her own projects, and eventually mentor junior team members. "I have to ask about work-life balance," Lisa said toward the end of their conversation. "I noticed you were handling childcare duties this morning. How does the company culture support employees who have families?" Alex's expression grew more serious. "That's actually really important to me personally, and it's reflected in our company policies. We offer flexible scheduling, the option to work from home when needed, and we understand that sometimes family emergencies take priority. This morning was unusual for me. My wife is out of town dealing with her mother's medical situation, so I'm on solo parent duty for the week." Lisa nodded appreciatively. Having a boss who understood the complexities of real life was important to her, even though she didn't have children of her own yet. "Actually, speaking of this morning," Alex said, leaning back in his chair with a more relaxed posture, "I feel like I owe you more of an explanation about what happened at the coffee shop. It probably looked pretty chaotic from the outside." Lisa shook her head. "You don't owe me any explanation at all. Being a parent looks challenging enough without having to justify the difficult moments to strangers." "Well, that's just it," Alex continued. "The whole situation was completely out of the ordinary for me. My wife Rachel usually handles the morning routine with Lily while I get ready for work. We've got it down to a science after 18 months of practice. But Rachel had to fly out to Denver on Sunday night because her mom had a heart attack." Lisa's expression immediately shifted to one of concern. "Oh no, I'm so sorry to hear that. Is she okay?" "She's stable now, thank you for asking. But it was touch and go for a while, so Rachel needed to be there, which left me flying solo with Lily for the first time in, well, ever really. I mean, I spend plenty of time with my daughter, but I've never had to handle the full morning routine by myself." Alex ran his hand through his hair, looking slightly embarrassed. I had no idea how complicated it would be. The daycare requires her to bring a specific breakfast, which I forgot to pack. She refused to wear the outfit I picked out. The car seat straps were adjusted wrong from when Rachel last used the car. And then, just as we were finally ready to leave, Lily dropped her favorite toy down the apartment building stairs. "The little wooden train?" Lisa said with understanding. "Exactly. That train goes everywhere with her. It was a gift from Rachel's father before he passed away last year, so it has sentimental value beyond just being a toy. When it broke apart after bouncing down those concrete steps, Lily was inconsolable. I tried everything I could think of to fix it during the walk to the coffee shop, but I just made it worse." Lisa could picture the scene clearly now. "So by the time I saw you, you'd already been dealing with crisis after crisis all morning." "Right. And I still had 3 important meetings scheduled at work, including this interview with you, which I'd been looking forward to all week. When that toy broke and Lily started crying, I honestly didn't know what I was going to do. I couldn't take her to daycare in that state, but I couldn't miss work either." Alex paused and looked directly at Lisa. "Then you appeared like some kind of guardian angel and fixed everything in about 2 minutes. You have no idea how grateful I was and still am." Lisa felt her cheeks warm at the praise. "It really wasn't that big of a deal. I just got lucky that I could see what was wrong with the spring mechanism." "But that's exactly my point," Alex said, becoming more animated. "It wasn't luck at all. You could have easily walked past us like dozens of other people did. You were clearly in a hurry. You had your own important appointment to get to, but you still stopped to help a stranger. That says something fundamental about who you are as a person." Lisa shifted uncomfortably in her chair. She had never been good at accepting compliments, especially ones that made her sound more heroic than she felt. "I think most people would have done the same thing if they knew how to help." "Actually, I'm not sure that's true," Alex replied thoughtfully. "I watched a lot of people walk by while Lily was crying. Some of them looked sympathetic, but they all kept going. And I don't blame them for that. We live in a busy world and everyone has their own problems to deal with. But you didn't just walk by. You saw a problem you could solve and you solved it, even though it cost you time you didn't have." Lisa considered this perspective. She had always thought of herself as someone who helped others when possible, but she hadn't realized how unusual that might be in certain situations. "I suppose I learned that behavior from my parents. They always taught me that small acts of kindness could make a big difference in someone's day." "They were absolutely right," Alex said. "Because of what you did this morning, I was able to drop Lily off at daycare happy and content instead of crying. That meant I could focus on work instead of worrying about whether she was okay. It allowed me to have productive meetings with our design team and our biggest client, and it meant I could sit here now, fully present for this interview, instead of being distracted by guilt and stress." Lisa hadn't thought about the ripple effects of fixing that simple toy, but Alex's explanation helped her see how one small action could impact an entire day for multiple people. "There's something else," Alex continued. "The way you interacted with Lily really impressed me. You didn't talk down to her or ignore her while you worked on the toy. You spoke to her directly, told her what you were doing, and made her feel included in the solution. That showed real emotional intelligence and communication skills." Lisa smiled, remembering how Lily had stopped crying almost immediately when she started explaining what she was doing with the train. She seemed like a smart little girl. I figured she deserved to understand what was happening. "Exactly. And that's the same approach we need with our clients here. We're not just creating marketing campaigns in isolation. We're solving problems for real people and businesses. The ability to communicate clearly, show empathy, and make others feel valued is crucial in this industry." Alex picked up Lisa's resume and looked at it again, though he seemed to already know its contents well. "Your technical qualifications are excellent, and your portfolio shows real creativity and strategic thinking. But what happened this morning demonstrated qualities that you can't put on a resume: character, problem-solving under pressure, and genuine care for others." Lisa felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The interview seemed to be going very well, but she wondered if Alex might be giving her too much credit for what was, from her perspective, a simple act of helpfulness. "I want to be honest with you about something," she said carefully. "I'm thrilled that I was able to help you this morning, and I'm grateful that it worked out well for everyone involved. But I hope you'll evaluate me for this position based primarily on my professional qualifications and what I can contribute to Wilson Creative, not just because I happened to be in the right place at the right time with a mechanical aptitude. Alex nodded approvingly. That's exactly the kind of professional integrity I hoped you'd demonstrate. And yes, absolutely. Any hiring decision will be based on your ability to do the job effectively. The morning's events just provided additional context about your character and problem-solving approach. He closed her resume folder and leaned forward slightly. So let me ask you this. If you were to join our team, what would you want to accomplish in your first 90 days here? Lisa felt confident answering this question, as she had prepared thoroughly for it. She outlined her plans for learning the company's processes, getting to know the existing clients and their needs, and identifying opportunities for new marketing strategies. She talked about her ideas for improving their social media engagement and her interest in developing campaigns that would appeal to younger demographics. Alex asked several follow-up questions, testing her knowledge of current marketing trends and her ability to think strategically about brand positioning. Lisa found herself enjoying the intellectual challenge of their discussion and feeling more convinced than ever that this was the right opportunity for her. As their conversation wound down, Alex glanced at his watch and looked surprised at how much time had passed. I can't believe we've been talking for almost an hour. It feels like we just got started. Lisa checked her own watch and was equally surprised. The interview had flown by, which she took as a good sign. When job interviews felt long and awkward, it usually meant things weren't going well. I have just one more question for you, Alex said. Is there anything else you'd like to know about the position or the company before we wrap up? Lisa thought for a moment about Alex's final question. There were practical matters she was curious about, like the specific projects she would be working on and the learning curve for their client management systems. But there was something else on her mind that felt more important to address. Actually, I do have one concern, she said carefully. I want to make sure that if I do get this position, my colleagues won't think I got it just because of what happened this morning. I'd hate for anyone to assume I received special treatment rather than earning the job on my own merits. Alex smiled at her response. That's a very professional way to think about it, and it actually reinforces my positive impression of you. But I can assure you that won't be an issue. Our hiring decisions go through a thorough process that involves input from multiple team members. I'll be discussing your qualifications with our senior staff, and the final decision will be based entirely on your ability to contribute to our success. He stood up and extended his hand. Lisa, thank you for a truly memorable interview. I'll be in touch within the next few days to let you know our decision. Lisa shook his hand, feeling cautiously optimistic about how the meeting had gone. Thank you for your time, Alex. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I hope I'll have the chance to contribute to Wilson Creative's continued success. As she gathered her portfolio and prepared to leave, Alex walked her to the door. And Lisa, thank you again for this morning. You really did save the day for both Lily and me. Lisa left the Wilson Creative building with mixed emotions. The interview had gone better than she could have possibly imagined, but she tried not to get her hopes up too high. She had been disappointed before by interviews that seemed promising, but didn't result in job offers. Still, there was something about Alex and the company culture that felt right to her. Over the next 3 days, Lisa found it impossible to concentrate on much else besides waiting for news from Wilson Creative. She tried to stay busy by updating her LinkedIn profile, organizing her apartment, and researching other potential job opportunities, but her mind kept drifting back to the interview and wondering what Alex's decision would be. On Thursday afternoon, her phone rang with a number she didn't recognize. Her heart jumped as she answered, hoping it might be the call she was waiting for. Hello, Lisa. This is Alex Wilson from Wilson Creative. Hi, Alex, Lisa replied, trying to keep her voice steady despite her racing pulse. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. I wanted to give you a call personally to let you know that we'd like to offer you the marketing coordinator position. Lisa felt a wave of pure joy wash over her, but she managed to maintain her professional composure. That's wonderful news. I'm so excited about the opportunity to join your team. The feeling is mutual, Alex said warmly. I discussed your qualifications with our senior staff, and everyone was impressed by your experience and portfolio. We think you'll be a great addition to Wilson Creative. They spent the next few minutes discussing salary, benefits, and start date details. The offer was even better than Lisa had hoped, with room for advancement and opportunities to work on major client accounts. She would be starting the following Monday. giving her just enough time to wrap up her freelance projects and prepare for her new role. "I do have one small request," Alex added near the end of their conversation. "Would you mind stopping by the office tomorrow afternoon? There are some paperwork items we need to take care of, and I'd like to introduce you to a few team members who will be working closely with you." "Of course," Lisa agreed. "What time would work best?" "How about 3 o'clock? And Lisa, feel free to bring your problem-solving skills. We might have a small challenge for you to tackle." Lisa laughed, wondering what kind of challenge Alex had in mind. "I'll be there." The next afternoon, Lisa arrived at Wilson Creative feeling like a completely different person than she had been just a week earlier. Instead of nervous job candidate, she was now the newest member of their marketing team. The receptionist greeted her with a warm smile and congratulations on joining the company. Alex met her in the lobby and led her through the office, introducing her to various colleagues and explaining how different departments worked together on client projects. Everyone she met seemed genuinely friendly and excited to have her on board. Lisa felt her confidence growing as she realized she was going to fit in well with this team. "Now for that challenge I mentioned," Alex said as they headed toward his office. "We have a very demanding client who needs some creative problem solving, and I thought you might be able to help." He opened his office door, and Lisa immediately heard familiar giggling coming from inside. There, sitting on the floor next to Alex's desk, was little Lily, playing happily with her wooden train and a collection of other toys. She looked up when Lisa entered and broke into a huge smile of recognition. "Dada," Lily called out, pointing at Lisa with obvious excitement. "I think she remembers you," Alex said with amusement. "Rachel's flight got delayed, so I had to bring Lily to work with me this afternoon. She's been asking about the nice lady who fixed her train all week." Lisa knelt down next to Lily, who immediately handed her the wooden train. It was working perfectly, rolling smoothly across the carpet, just as it had when Lisa first repaired it. "Hi there, Lily," Lisa said softly. "I'm so glad to see you again, and look how well your train is working." Lily clapped her hands and said something in toddler language that sounded very much like "thank you," though it came out more like "tank-oo." "She's been carrying that train everywhere," Alex explained. "I swear she's more attached to it now than she was before it broke. It's like fixing it made it even more special to her." As Lisa played with Lily for a few minutes, she reflected on how dramatically her life had changed in just 1 week. A simple act of kindness had led to the job opportunity she had been dreaming of for months. More than that, it had connected her with people who shared her values about helping others and treating people with respect and compassion. "You know," Alex said, watching Lisa and Lily interact, "I've been thinking about what happened at the coffee shop, and I realized something. You didn't just fix a broken toy that morning. You showed me what kind of person I wanted to have on my team. Someone who sees problems as opportunities to help, who stays calm under pressure, and who treats everyone with kindness and respect." Lisa looked up from where she was sitting on the floor with Lily. "I never thought of it that way." "That's exactly why it's so meaningful," Alex continued. "You weren't trying to impress anyone or make a good impression. You were just being yourself, and yourself turned out to be exactly what we needed at Wilson Creative." Over the next few months, Lisa settled into her new role and found that Alex had been right about the company culture. Her colleagues were collaborative and supportive, always willing to share knowledge and help each other succeed. The work was challenging and creative, giving her opportunities to grow professionally while making a real impact for their clients. Lisa often thought back to that morning at the coffee shop and marveled at how one small decision to help a stranger had changed the entire trajectory of her career. It reinforced something her father had always told her about the importance of kindness and the unexpected ways that good deeds could come back to benefit you. But more than the professional benefits, Lisa had gained something even more valuable. She had learned that being true to her values, even in small everyday moments, was not just the right thing to do. It was also the path to finding where she truly belonged. Sometimes the most important moments in our lives don't announce themselves with fanfare. Sometimes they come disguised as crying babies and broken toys, as opportunities to be late for important meetings, as chances to help strangers we might never see again. Lisa's story was proof that you never know when a small act of kindness might change not just someone else's day, but your entire life.